He's been a congressman, a senator, a governor, an ambassador, and yes, a guest on the show, I believe, through all of those times. Sam Brownback, the Brownback Group, joining me now. So ambassador is pretty much the one we always used, as that was your last title. But, just for a little bit of fun, and we have a serious topic to get into here, do you have a favorite among all of them?
I really enjoyed the Senate. It's just fun. You can kind of pick topics around the world. You can travel with it. You can blame others. It's just it was a very stimulating and enjoyable position.
I'm sorry. I'm laughing. I had to mute myself when you said you can blame others.
Yeah. You can always you can lob bombs at people. That's the problem. It's them. And you kind of go. And unfortunately, you didn't have to balance the budget at the federal level. So then that just leads to all sorts of problems. At state level, you got to balance your budget. And so you got to make these trade-offs, and that creates conflict and difficulty. And we had a horrible pension system in Kansas for as far as it was near bankruptcy, so I had to fix that, and that took a bunch of money, but you can't just print it. You got to come up with it. Well, then that makes other people mad that you took the money from here to pay there, and you got to get your taxes down because you got to draw people into the state. And then that makes other people mad, and so it's a difficult position if you don't have a real growing state like a Florida or a Texas. You're trying to create that atmosphere. It's a much harder lift.
So what I'm hearing is you can blame somebody else in the Senate, but the hardest working job is the governor for you. All right.
It is. You got to make sure the roads are clear. You got to keep the schools going. We got to have a water supply. It's very practical, and people know where you live.
Very true. My guest, as you hear him, there is Sam Brownback. And while we're talking about past positions, let's get into the present challenge. China's war with faith. And you and I know this, and we've had many discussions around different topics in faith over the years. And the difference in this for me, and not the whole difference, but a key part of it, is that for the Chinese Communist Party or any form of communism, they need to eliminate faith to replace it with the state. And that is clear, but now they are being very specific, and they have new tools even in technology. So where are we in this war on faith by the hard left and communists in any form under any name?
We're in a tough spot. They've got tools they only dreamed of in the past. Facial recognition systems, the cell phone is a tracking device, keyword sifting. They can go through 1 billion words and sift for Jesus or Muhammad or Buddha and find the people that are doing that, and then find the people that connect to you. They've got these massive new surveillance tools that they could only dream of in the past. And then they've also figured it out that people of faith are the ones that will actually stand up to them, that answer to a higher calling, a higher authority, and are willing to put their lives on the line. That makes them dangerous. And that makes them the most important target for them to go after.
In the case of the Chinese Communist Party, and you talk about this a lot, and rightfully so, and the world says very little about the genocide against the Uyghur Muslims. Again, faith, whether it's Buddhist, Hindu, Muslim, Christian, it's about subverting or controlling to the point of, if they get their way, eliminating. But the world says very little about that.
I think the world is just kind of scared of talking about faith, whether it's kind of seen as separation church and faith, or, well, we don't like all those faith communities anyway, and so we're not really going to talk about it. But they are our most effective on-the-ground voices and dissenters and people that will actually stand up to the regime. The Dalai Lama is blocked from going back to his home country, and now, in a galling move, the Communist Party in China is claiming, who is atheistic, that they're going to appoint the next Dalai Lama. And you go, oh, wait a minute. You guys don't believe in any of this spiritual side, and you're going to appoint the next Dalai Lama? Yes, because it's about control. And Falun Gong is this kind of spiritual movement. They decimated these guys and did things like organ harvesting on them, which is just so barbaric, you can't even hardly believe it.
Yeah, while we are talking about China, there is a tangent for me, and I think a very real one, that is the left. And I'm going to use the UK as an example of this. Granted, there are many influences on the UK today, leftism, Islamism, communism, and more. And this is a resurgence since the 50s of socialism in the UK at a level that Margaret Thatcher fought to push down, and here we are again. You have a Keir Starmer talking about nationalizing the steel industry, by the way, given the huge losses for labor currently. You have something else which I think ties into this more so. Going back to the original designation, if you will, of defender of the faith for the monarch, in this case, King Charles, he has not stood up as defender of the faith for the Church of England. That goes way back. And while not specifically designated by Pope Leo back in the, well, I forget the year now, but to the current Pope, who, by the way, also plays and dances lightly around dealing with Muslim issues, slaughter of Christians in Nigeria. I've seen some recent reports of the last week alone of women with babies being macheted. A couple survived, many were killed. And now you have a defender of the faith as the parliament designated in England, the King Charles, not defending the faith, but propping up the one that's attacking his country. And yet the, quote, defender of the faith of the Catholic Church, not walking quietly, silently, almost non-existently around issues of true genocide by groups against some while propping up others.
Yeah, I talk about this some in the book, is that China currently has 9 Catholic bishops under detention, or we don't know their whereabouts. 9. And what are we hearing out of the Vatican on this? I mean, they should be protesting. And if you're kind of embarrassed or you don't want to raise this about the Catholic Church, then why not raise the genocide against the Tibetan Buddhist and the virtual effort to eliminate Tibetan Buddhism in Tibet, or the Muslim Uyghurs, or the Falun Gong? I mean, raise one of them, or Jimmy Lai, raise his case. Why are we not hearing this? Why do we hear a criticism of the United States? And that's fine. It's a free country and you can do that. But no criticism of Communist China, who is literally at war with faith and using these massive tools and deadly to kill other people of faith. That should really be raised by King Charles. It should be raised by Pope Leo. It should be raised by everybody in the West, because it's really an attack on Western civilization and a Judeo-Christian value of each person is unique and an individual, a beautiful child created in the image of God with inalienable rights.
You know, I'll say this as well, Sam, that even if someone is not a person of faith, but logical, I will use that term, to see the benefits of a good foundation in some form of faith, and there are many faiths around the world, many denominations. There are also quite a lot of similarities, right? True monotheistic belief in some form. So looking at this even in a intellectual sense, the benefits of being rooted in a moral code, a moral foundation, is often in parallel with good societies or better societies.
Absolutely. You know, and that's why our founders said, you know, this freedom that we have here is built for a people of faith and is inadequate for any other, because you have to have that internal guidance system, the natural law being brought forward. It's why President Trump talks about the need for more religion, so that people will have those systems to help guide them. It's really foundational to an open, free society. You need that. And now you're seeing more public intellectuals embrace that notion. Even if they themselves had kind of had more of an agnostic or an atheistic view, they're seeing a society can't operate if you don't have some of those basic principles being taught and passed on to generations throughout the families and the cultural systems.
Let's talk about your current work. Bring everybody up to speed. You are co-chair of the International Religious Freedom Summit. You continue the work. The book, of course, a great book for everyone. Pick it up. It is China's War on Faith by my guest, Sam Brownback. But let's talk about your current work and how people can learn more about it, what they can do.
Pick up the book is really there. We've got a lot of policy suggestions in it, and I really think this is the moment we've got to stop giving China a pass on all of the horrific things they are doing. We've been giving them a pass the last 30, 40 years. President Trump, to his credit, is the first president since Kennedy to confront China, and he did that in his first term. He started this term that way. Then I think they really grabbed us by the neck with the rare earth minerals, and we're going, okay, we've got to get in a better and stronger position there. And so he's having to work around that. But my current focus is really this, and it goes to the whole thing of religious freedom, because much of the problems in the world against human rights, against religious freedom, they have at their foundation or the puppet master, the Chinese Communist Party. They're the ones pulling the strings. They're the ones making it possible for Russia, for Iran, for North Korea to do all these bad things, for Venezuela previously. You're really going to have to go at the master puppeteer on this. Ultimately, that's where the problem is.
You frame this as a moral imperative and a geopolitical force to be reckoned with, and that is this fight for faith. And, of course, the book, congratulations again on the book, but it's important for us to have these perspectives. And I like your approach. I always have liked your pragmatic approach to bring more people to the conversation. So not bad for a guy who's had a few jobs here and there.
Yeah, thank you. We just couldn't keep a job, but this is the biggest fight we're in, David. This is really a big fight, and we just need to realize we're in it. For the most part, we've kind of been not realizing or thinking we're in it, but we're in it.
We certainly are. My guest, former congressman, senator, governor, and ambassador, and still working hard on behalf of faith around the world, Sam Brownback. Sir, it's really a pleasure to speak to you. Always good to talk to you.
Take care. God bless you all.
God bless.